How's it going, guys? It's Dan for BladeReviews.com. Welcome to my review of the Ontario Machete. I feel like a machete review has been long overdue on my channel and thought, hey, let's get a machete, let's do some testing and record some footage and put something together. So that's exactly what I did. And today we're going to be talking about Ontario's offering their 18-inch machete, sometimes called their military machete. Just a classic Latin machete, real simple, but made nicely. And this is actually made in the USA. Quality materials, real simple, sturdy construction. If you're looking to get into the world of machetes and don't have a ton of money to spend, but want something with some real quality, something that'll last and get a lot of work done, I can't recommend something like this enough. I mean, it's a no-brainer, and it's something that belongs really in everybody's garage or in everybody's knife and tool collection. So let's get into it here. I will forego the specs. I will say, though, that this is a pretty heavy tool. This is the one with the 18-inch blade. They make them with 12 and 24-inch blades as well. And this knife weighs 1.7 pounds, or excuse me, 1 pound 7 ounces. So very substantial. And the trade-off of something like that is it might fatigue you after not only carrying it, but using it. If you're going to be using this for any extended period of time, you might not be able to, because you might just get too tired from wielding this very heavy and overbuilt tool. On the flip side, you're not going to run into any of the issues that you commonly run into with really cheap machetes that you might buy at like Walmart or the hardware store or something like that. And that is the machete's breaking on you, bending. Instead, you've got a piece of 1095 high carbon steel here. It's full tang construction. It's an 1/8 of an inch thick piece of steel. Very, very sturdy. It's going to hold up really well under extended use, hard use. And I've pushed this beyond what I would normally use a machete for. I mean, normally you use these for clearing brush. Maybe you've got some branches, you know, they're like maybe 1 inch thick or 1/2 inch thick, whatever. And then that's kind of what you would reserve the machete for, just light clearing tasks and things like that. Well, I had the opportunity to take this out to a piece of private property here in Southwest Florida that had experienced a forest fire a few years back. So there were a lot of dead trees. Some of them were downed trees and some were still standing. And I did quite a bit of chopping. I tried to do a little bit of brush clearing, but really my interests were in hacking up as much big stuff as possible. It's always fun. It's a great workout, and you can really test the limits of something like this Ontario machete by tackling some of the bigger stuff. So that's just what I did, and I'll tell you, it held up really, really well. The chopping performance out of something like this is quite incredible. I think it's hard to find a bigger bang for your buck than something like this $30 machete. I mean, if you're looking for big chopper performance, but you want to get it for under $50, look no further. Very nice steel. Mine came with a decent edge. It's been given a partial flat grind, and you know, it is what it is, guys. It really just works. So it bites deep. I was able to chop down, and I don't recommend doing this at all, but I actually chopped down a dead tree with it, and in the process almost killed myself and my camera. So don't try this at home, but yeah, I chopped down a tree. It was probably at least 6 inches in diameter, maybe a little bit, maybe even bigger. I'll have to review the video, but quite substantial. And that's something that you're not going to be able to do with a lot of knives and tools, honestly. So to be able to get that kind of performance for under $50, to me, quite impressive. So very pleased with the actual performance of this knife and the blade and the steel. It just works, and it works quite well. Let's talk a little bit about the handle real quick. It's very simple. It's 2 pieces of plastic that have been riveted to your full tang handle there. And, you know, it works quite well for what it is. You've got this little pinky catch that helps keep the knife from flying out of your hand under use. And that does a decent job. Although I will say the absence of texture on this handle does make it slippery when wet, and I was getting quite sweaty. I was getting pretty tired, and I could feel my hand growing weaker and the fatigue setting in, and that and the sweat and the sun made the knife a little difficult to manage at times, and I actually had to stop what I was doing because I was afraid that I was actually going to lose control over the knife. So I would recommend wrapping it with a little bit of athletic tape, or maybe making use of the supplied lanyard hole and then threading a lanyard through there if that's what you're into, because there is the potential for the handle to get kind of slippery. So be very, very careful with this, especially if you're working around other people. But all things considered, you know, I think this is really well done, both the handle and the blade, and I like it a lot. Let's spend a couple minutes and talk about the sheath that I've got here with the tool. It doesn't actually come with the machete. You have to buy it separately, and they do have a variety of sheath options for you. Most of them, if not all, are aftermarket options, and I ended up going with Rothko's plastic sheath. It was like an extra 10 bucks. Very simple plastic sheath, works well. I think it's a much better buy than like a nylon sheath because it's just going to hold up a lot better. It did come with this goofy belt clip. It was like an ammo belt clip from, I don't know, the 70s or the 80s, and it really just doesn't work with a modern belt or with what I was trying to do with the machete in general. So I ended up taking that off with a hacksaw, and then I drilled a couple holes, one at the top, one at the bottom of the sheath, and made this kind of a sling. I threaded a little piece of leather there to kind of pad it up a little bit, make it a little bit more comfortable on the shoulder. And I typically carry this over the shoulder, and it's real convenient that way, comfortable, stays out of the way until you need it, and then it's easy to access. So I like this over the shoulder carry method for the machete, but certainly there's many different ways to carry a tool like this. I also decided to pull a page from Dave Canterbury's playbook. He's got a video on YouTube where he's demonstrating his Ontario machete and his sheath, and I think he's got the same sheath I do. And he's got this little Ranger Band survival kit kind of put on his sheath. He uses these bicycle inner tube pieces, which are what people call Ranger Bands, and he's put fishing hooks and fire starters and like I think a space blanket and all kinds of stuff in there. Then he's made his machete into a mini survival kit. I didn't go that far. I just decided to use a couple Ranger Bands to secure a sharpening stone on the outside of the sheath, and I like that because it's good for touching things up in the field, or maybe you get a chip or something like that and you want to kind of work on it and you're not at your bench or your garage or whatever. So it's cool to have this mobile sharpening capability. Kind of fun, and it kind of made a little project out of the whole making the sheath the way I wanted to. So I had a good time with that too, and the results are quite practical as well. All right, guys, that kind of takes us through everything. I really can't recommend the Ontario machete enough. I mean, it's an incredible, incredible tool. Big bang for your buck. I think you can get these online for like $30. And it's the kind of thing that everybody should have a good machete, because you never know when you're going to need it, and it's just a lot of fun to put them together too with the sheath. And I don't know, it's just kind of a cool, it's got a cool factor to it as well that I really enjoyed. So definitely recommend the Ontario machete. Go for the plastic sheath and have fun with it, because it's the kind of thing where you can really make it your own. All right, guys, that is the review. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, this is Dan for BladeReviews.com. Feel free to check out the website if you want to read a full write-up on the Ontario machete. And thanks again for joining me, guys. Take care, and I hope to see you soon in the form of another knife review.